Continuing our discussion about the fourth Trump arrest, the mugshot, the Fulton County Jail visit, I want to look at some of the responses we've seen, starting off with Laura Ingraham on Fox News. And instead of a big introduction, just take a look at the dishonesty being spewed here, and then we will respond.
And he'll take this short drive to the Fulton County Courthouse. I should say, Charlie, the left is ramping up their fear-mongering as this is all going on, because this is their moment of great celebration. They claim to think that this is a serious moment for democracy, but you see it around the edges. They are gleeful that this man is going to get his mugshot taken tonight, fingerprinted like he summoned Jack and cars in San Francisco. Those people actually go free.
So they're completely bankrupt of ideas on the left. They have nothing left. And so their only option now is to do this. And it's really...
and he'll take this short...
Okay, so starting with the point about being gleeful, it is perfectly acceptable to get excited whenever you see accountability. It is not us celebrating that Trump did the things he did, or that a former president is experiencing these legal troubles, because that does reflect a dark moment based on the things that Trump did. But seeing accountability for the things that Trump did is very good. It is exciting. And so pointing to the fact that people are celebrating the accountability taking place is not much of a point. Then she says something about carjackers, he's being treated like them. You're common criminal. Yeah. That's how the law should work. You shouldn't get special treatment because your name is Donald Trump. That seems very reasonable. And then the individual, whoever else is on, it may be who we're about to look at, Charlie Hurt, who was on with her that night, said something about the left not having any ideas, really, because when Democrats had a majority in the House of Representatives, as well as the Senate, and Biden was in the White House, the first 2 years of his presidency, we saw the American Rescue Plan, the first major gun safety bill in decades, pulling out of America's longest war. That was Biden individually. Largest investment in green energy in history, lowering prescription drug costs, raising the minimum wage for federal government workers. Ketanji Brown Jackson got put on the court. The PACT Act, the Chips and Science Act, and the once-in-a-generation infrastructure law. The Republicans now have the House majority, and what have we gotten? Some bill about parental rights where they force the outing of LGBTQ kids in school or something. Yeah, not much. A bunch of investigations, so not super strong. Plus, back to the point about the left being gleeful about the mugshot. Take a look at this from Sean Hannity's show.
With the Fox News alert, you are looking at Joe Biden. Oh, I'm sorry, Donald Trump's official mugshot. Joe Biden will be soon enough. Anyway, moments ago, the 45th president of the United States walked into the notorious...
It seems he's gleeful about the potential of a mugshot of the sitting president of the United States that doesn't have evidence of crimes against him. So we're excited because there's a mugshot. He's being treated equally and is being held accountable for actions he took that there is evidence for them violating the law. When it comes to Biden, you don't have that. But he's already preemptively gleeful about that. Then you have this on Fox News as well.
That's why, I think all of the other issues that we talk about in this primary, in the Republican primary, it's important and interesting and fun. And yes, the America First Trump wing has taken over the Republican Party. But to me, the most important thing we can do is stop this. Is to stop this, because if this is not stopped, they will do this forever.
Republicans should grind everything on Capitol Hill to a halt. Yeah. I mean, everything. If this is allowed on the federal level, on the state level, I'd grind it all to a halt.
And there's so much that they can do on the Hill and that they have begun to do, including investigating Fannie Willis, who's clearly coordinating with other Democrat
Kamala
people.
Harris supporter? We're going to get to that.
And by the way, I think prosecutors around the country should begin preparing indictments of Joe Biden for every person in their district who dies of fentanyl poison, every person that is murdered by an illegal alien that Joe Biden intentionally allowed in the country so that they could go and murder somebody. There should be indictments for the president, and let's start there. And then
so deranged, truly. As we've discussed in the past, they're using a false story about Trump being persecuted. They're the ones pushing the idea that Trump's being unfairly politically persecuted. not based on the evidence, but based on their own motivations. And then using that to justify actually calling for what would be an unfair political persecution of their political opponents. Very dangerous, very contradictory to the principles they put forward to defend Donald Trump, and scary that that's being said, and very common on the largest, most watched cable news network. Speaking of that network, one more moment. This is Trump's lawyer.
Treated like this before. You look at the case, let's analyze it from a legal standpoint.
Sure. It's garbage. How about a very plain, simple English standpoint? When you have the president whose sole responsibility is to take care of America, the Constitution, election interference, and make sure that we are the America that I used to know, not the America you and I know now. And he is then prosecuted because he is leading so significantly, frankly, in the polls that he doesn't even need to go on a debate. This is the crisis that we're in as American people.
And it sounds like her main mic is out, so they have some boom that's kind of loosely picking up her voice, so I apologize for that.
There is no case. Unfortunately, we have library books, Sean. We have bookkeeping, because they didn't like the category on the QuickBooks tab that he put on a legal expense. And then we have this, which is him doing his job as the president of the United States, frankly, something we haven't seen for several years since Biden's been in the administration.
Yeah.
And they're going to try and put him in prison because they can't beat him.
If by they you mean Joe Biden can't beat him, he did already. So it's plausible that he could beat him a second time, especially considering everything that's happened since that last defeat of Donald Trump. So there, by the way, she was referring to library books. Library books. That was her calling the classified documents case just not turning back in library books. Yeah, okay. Definitely the same thing. And gosh, what other talking point did she put forward there? Okay, so the central point she was trying to make is this was Trump doing what he should do as president. He was doing his job, and now Joe Biden, we don't have a president who's going to do the job like Trump did in all these actions he's now being prosecuted for. If by doing the job of president, you mean when you lose an election trying to prevent the next president from getting into power, then you have a very whacked out understanding of the job of a president. And I'm glad that Biden is not doing the job, according to you, of a good president. And again, I say play it out, and then we'll move away from Fox News to Newsmax. Play that out in your head. If this conduct was allowed, we would have a situation where presidents, it would be normalized for them, if they really wanted to stay president, even if they lost, they could engage in these efforts to just stay president. Then what's the point of elections if you could just use all your authority to prevent the next person from getting into power? That would be a disaster for democracy and rule of law, obviously, but just because it's Trump and it didn't work, they're okay saying that. But if it had worked, if Trump was president right now, despite him losing, well, Alina Abba would be happy, but that would be horrible for the United States. So it's actually, as I will continue to say, incredible for the presidency as an institution and rule of law that indeed Trump's being prosecuted here. Then we move away from Fox News to Newsmax, and this is James Comer also responding.
I guess the House Oversight Committee is partly to blame for what's going on with Trump, because every time we bring out more damning evidence on Joe Biden, they indict Trump within the next 48 hours.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we've got a president that's compromised. We've got a president who has violated laws, who should be treated as a criminal. He's the one that's a criminal. I guess the House.
So point one, he's saying that because the House Oversight Committee is exposing the crimes of the Biden crime family, that's why Trump's being prosecuted, to distract from that. And so he apologizes, I guess, for being the reason for that. Now, that makes a whole lot of sense, especially considering the fact that the investigations into Trump started long before his investigation into Joe Biden. So if one's distracting from the other, I think it may be you doing the distracting, James Comer. And then number two, there's actually evidence for the crimes being alleged against Trump, whereas James Comer time and time again comes up short and is becoming a national humiliation. There's a little part of the Republican Party that I'm sure thinks, or a little part of the country, a big part of the Republican Party that thinks, wow, Biden has been exposed. And so James Comer's a hero for that. But a lot of the country is starting to realize they've been up to this for a while and we're getting nothing of substance. As we have talked about a gazillion times now, their most recent round of the big charade calling in the former business associate of Hunter Biden, who was supposed to be a bombshell witness, and then he assisted in debunking a lot of the core parts of the claims they were making about Joe Biden. And when they would ask him if, for example, any involvement of Biden in Burisma, any involvement to your knowledge, the answer was no. Or did you ever hear Joe Biden talking about business dealings with Hunter Biden? No. On and on and on. They have nothing. And it's humiliating for them. But he still has the gall to say the Trump indictments are distracting from what I'm uncovering about President Biden. And then you have Marjorie Greene. This looks like outside of the Fulton County Jail saying this.
Horrible day in America, and to stand in solidarity with President Trump, I made my own mugshot with the Fulton County Jail here logo, and I changed it to my official photo on Twitter. So I encourage everyone to make your own MAGA mugshot. Stand with President Trump. We always stand with our president because he's the one that's going to save this country, and we thank God for him. So that's what I did to stand in solidarity. I'm standing right here at the jail with all of y'all. I think right side, I think everybody.
The guy that she's standing next to is that MAGA rapper that I interviewed or debated with or talked to outside of the second arrest of Trump. Very cuckoo. So there it is. Pretty stunning. We'll talk more about this later in today's show, but that's it for now on Trump's fourth arrest. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.